What if I told you that building $1 million business is actually easier than you think and it can be done in 1 year? Well, if you follow this roadmap I'm about to share with you, I promise you will make more progress in the next 12 months than most people will make in their entire lifetime. And if you're wondering why you should listen to me, it's because I went 0 to $1 million in under 12 months and then went on to do 115 million more over the next 6 years. So I'm only gonna be sharing with you the proven framework that I did myself and have since used to help thousands of people build their own multi-million-dollar businesses. And even after doing over 9 figures in sales, this is the same framework and strategy I use today and with my clients. So today I'm gonna share the roadmap with you, discuss why it works so well, and show you how you can apply it to make $1 million business within a year. Now, moving over to the pyramid, the first base and the most important thing in this pyramid is mindset. And if you want to become a millionaire, you really have to master your mindset. Now, when I first started my businesses, I didn't really believe in mindset and I thought it was kind of a joke because I didn't always want to do the certain tasks that I needed to grow the business. I didn't want to message people. I didn't want to take sales calls. I didn't want to do lead gen. I didn't want to post content, but I ignored those feelings and did it anyways. And really to me, I just thought that was mostly mindset until I met a very advanced individual. His name's Steve. I won't use his last name, but he's very successful, affluent male. He's worth over 9 figures and he gets paid about $200,000 per client per year, and the people fly out to him and sit in his office, and that's the only way he'll work with you. And one day he was teaching me a story about mindset because he said, Tanner, if you want to change your life, you have to change how you think, and then how you think changes your actions, that changes your results. But I said, well, Steve, if someone punches me or someone tries to hit me in the face, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm gonna react. And he says, that's what most people do, but this is what you actually do. So he told me a story about when he went to a prison, and he's an older gentleman, so he had a phone, and I'll kind of show you guys. He had his phone like this, and he was FaceTiming. And the phone was faced at one of the prisoners in the prison yard. And the prisoner got upset, and he took a rock and he threw it on Steve's car. Now, Steve's car was about a $500,000 car, and he broke the windshield. Now, most people, when that happened, would start cussing out the prisoner, run over to him, say something, maybe get him in trouble with the guards. But what Steve did is Steve went over and said, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you and I didn't see you. Please forgive me. And then he actually went inside the prison to spend time with that man. And I thought, that's crazy. How are you able to do that? And what Steve taught me is the way you change how you act is you decide how you're gonna act before. And so the way that I did that is I actually created what I call my document. And you guys won't be able to see it very well. Maybe you guys will be able to see it, but it's backwards on here, but this is my document that I say every single morning. And the reason I say it is when I get in tough situations, those are the thoughts that come to my mind. Now, it doesn't mean I always act on it, right? I'm trying to get better each and every day. But if I say things like, I'm the best boyfriend in the world, or I say, I'm a strong and powerful leader, people love working for me because I put them before myself, then what happens when I'm in tough situations, those thoughts come to my head in those difficult situations like the one Steve described, and then I act differently. And that's how you start to master your mindset. Essentially, it's not you have to feel different. It's not that you have to want to do different things, but you say the things that you want to become, and as you say them, those become your thoughts, and the goal is that your thoughts then become your actions. That's why they say the 5 people you're around the most matters, or what you watch, or what you listen to. It all matters because those become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your actions, right? So the first thing you want to master is your mindset. So an easy way to do that is to create a document, and if you don't know what to write, just write everything you hate about yourself or the opposite of what you want. So you'd say, I'm impatient, I'm not nice, I'm not kind, I'm not in shape. And then your document would become the opposite of all those things, the positive. And then you start saying those things on a daily basis. So just so you guys can hear maybe what it sounds like, because I want you guys to actually hear it on this video, let me read some of it for you. I am that I'm impeccable with my word, not only to myself, but to everyone around me. If I say I'll do something, I must do it. I am that I don't take anything personally. What someone else does isn't about me, it's a story about them. I am that I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams. I make sure to focus on others, and in return, they focus on me. And it goes on, right? And so those are some of the things that help me. So when I'm in tough situations and I don't know what to do or I'm having a hard time, I'll read that document to hopefully act differently to get a different outcome. Now, once we've mastered mindset and we're starting to think positively, which changes our actions and gets us different results, we now have to work on our skills, right? Because having a positive mindset is not enough. We actually have to give value to society. So the first thing I want you to do is look at the current skills you have. So for me, that was, I played basketball growing up. I played Division I football. I tested really well. I was in really good shape. So for me, I was thinking, could I do ACT prep? Could I do something in fitness? Maybe I could do something around athletics, like showing kids how to try to get scholarships or how to perform better, right? So that is where I started. Something else you could do is, what have you achieved over the last 5 years? Just look back in time. What comes easy to you that's difficult for others? What do others come to you for advice on, right? Some of my friends are really good at, speaking or almost like therapy, right? Some people are good at piano. Some people are good at sports. Some are good at building cars. You could do that. Have you ever given someone help with something, right? That's an idea you could think of. Okay, if you could go back in time, what would you sell yourself? And that could also become your product or what you build your business around. What would you teach your younger self? Okay, what challenges have you gone through in life and overcome? Or what problems have you solved for yourself? What could you talk about all day long without getting bored? So for me at the time, it was fitness because that's all I did. What would people pay to learn from you? Okay, so essentially try to teach something you actually know. And again, don't worry if you feel it's a commodity or there's a lot of people doing it. It doesn't matter because in business, it's not who's the best trainer or who's the best business owner or who's the best coach. It's who's the best at marketing typically. Because if they don't know you exist, they can't possibly buy your services or products. Now, some examples of businesses that clients we've worked with, we have a guy named Ranjit, and Ranjit actually helps people get their green cards. And he has a certain process that he goes through. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a really good offer. We have other clients who will do Airbnb arbitrage, right? So they'll teach people how to, rent out homes and then use it on Airbnb and make a profit. There's a million different things you can do. You just have to look for what you're good at or what's a good opportunity. Now, if you're not certain you have skills or you think you don't have skills, which I don't buy or I don't believe, you can go to one of two sites. One's called Allison.com, ALISON.com. It's free and you can go in there and just type in a skill you want to learn and it will have a course and it'll literally take you through that. Or B, you can go to udemy.com. It's not free, but they're cheaper courses. And that's actually how I learned Facebook ads. The first way I learned Facebook ads is I went to udemy.com and I just watched all the courses and I went through it. And I think it was $100. There's so much information out there. You just have to be willing to go out and make yourself valuable. And so that's why we're here on the second pillar, which is skill sets. Now, some other ideas before I move on into offer is you could do writing or storytelling, public speaking, fitness, obviously, coding. Coding's a great one. In fact, if I could go back in time, I probably would have done coding. Coders make a ton of money. Blogs, building computers, overcoming addiction, growing on social media, filmmaking, email marketing, playing guitar, investing, mindset, sales coaching, job placements, drawing, day trading, SAT, ACT prep, dating coaching, that type of stuff, okay? So there's a million things you could do. Those are just a couple examples, okay? Now, once we have our skill set, we now have to create an offer, all right? And I want to just use the board real quick. Essentially, when we're creating an offer, we want to have one of three things, okay? So they'll intersect here. So we'll have wealth, okay, health, or relationships, okay? And we want to make sure our offer falls in one of those categories, meaning if you think about anything you've ever bought in your life, you're buying it to get more in these areas, right? So if you go to the gym, you want more health. If you're watching this video, you want more wealth. If you hire a dating coach, you want better relationships. If you have a mindset coach, maybe it's a relationship issue, or maybe it's a wealth issue, right? But you're not just ever doing something for nothing. You're doing it because you want more in one of these three areas. So the first thing is you want to make sure it's in one of those three areas and it fixes on that pain. Then we want to make sure we use a system to get results and create a new USP for them, all right? And then finally have it solve a burning issue. So let me use a couple of my client offers so you guys can understand how this works, okay? So one of my clients has a offer that is day trading. So he teaches people how to day trade, right? And so we'll go through why that's the advantageous offer, but that's essentially a wealth offer, okay? And I have another client, Ranjit, that I brought up earlier, who gets people green cards, okay? And so I guess we can say that's in the health sector because they want to come to America, right? Or they want to stay in America. And so he helps them get their green cards, right? Or that might be around family, right? That can also be relationships. But it's obviously very important to people to get that, right? Most people are going to say, hey, that's super important to me, so they're going to spend a lot of money for that. Another client I have, trainers, right? So they help people with their health. So fitness offers, okay? Another example is a permanent makeup artist. So they help people become permanent makeup artists for money, right? So you can see it, every single offer comes back to health, wealth, or relationships, okay? Now, the key thing you have to do after you've actually come up with one of these offers, and I'll just use these because these are real clients I have. These clients are all doing 7 figures, okay? So let me take you through how you know if you have a good offer. So the first basic part we already went through, health, wealth, and relationships. The second thing we have to do is put it through what I call the $100 million offer equation, or I guess Alex Hormozi did that. And so if you've ever seen Alex Hormozi's videos, I'm sure you have, or read his books, he has a simple way to determine if you have a good offer. And I was doing this for years. I didn't realize it until Alex's book came out, but I realized I was doing this automatically. I just didn't know how to explain it or teach it in a great way. So the first thing you have is determined outcome. And apologize for my writing, guys. I'm just not, that good at it. Then this one is essentially risk. I'm just gonna keep this short. Time, and then effort, okay? And so let's go back through those offers I had with my client. So Kyle had a day trading offer. So in terms of determined outcome, we'll give it a check, right? They wanna make money, so it's a great outcome. How to make, extra $10,000 a year, $50,000 a year as a day trader, okay? The risk, it's pretty like 50-50, right? So we'll kind of put like a negative sign, like it's not the best. Time is very fast, right? So with day trading, you can make money pretty quickly, and then effort's pretty low because all you really have to do is read a graph. I shouldn't say all you have to do, but you read a graph, you click a button, you're done, okay? A lot easier than building a business. So this is a really great offer to sell because it has 3 out of 4 of the main components, okay? Let's take Ranjit's offer, for example. So Ranjit gives people green cards, great outcome, very great, good outcome. The risk, very minimal, right? So we're actually getting them a check here because if they follow the process, almost all of his clients are getting those results, okay? Time, that's the downside. So we'll give it a negative here because it does take a lot of time and it does take a lot of effort. But usually if it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort, people don't want it. But because this is such a high outcome, it's so high, it actually supersedes this, right? Because in this equation, typically, the less time it takes and the less effort, it actually will supersede that because anything divided by 0 is 0, right? But his outcome is so good, it's so high that people are willing to put in the time and effort. So another way to think of a great outcome would be if you're gonna be a billionaire, right? And you have to work for 10 years and it's gonna take a lot of work, some people would still do that, right? And so in this case, this doesn't always work, but in his equation, his outcome is so high that people are willing to put in the time and effort. Okay, most of us can't get away with that, right? Let's take the trainers, because I work with tons of trainers. So determined outcome, lose 20 pounds in, let's say, 3 months. Okay, they want that. Risk is pretty high, right? Because most people fail at losing weight. Time takes a lot of time, so it's not good either. And there's a lot of risk, right? Or effort, excuse me. There's a ton of effort. So it's not that you can't sell this offer. There's a massive market for the fitness industry. But if you're just looking at, hey, Tanner, what offer should I sell? Or what skills should I pursue? This is the framework you can take it through, right? And this will easily help you become a millionaire. So fitness in this case is actually one of the weaker offers because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and there's a lot of risk. You can still overcome that and people know that they have to get in shape. But if I switch that and said, hey, liposuction, lose 20 pounds, there's no risk, it happens instantly, and there's no effort. That's why people will pay $5,000 to $10,000 for liposuction, but they won't pay as much money for a trainer, right? Because if you take it through this model, then you don't have to think, oh, I'm so bad at sales or I'm bad at marketing. You may be a part of it, but the other part is just what you're selling, right? And I've made a lot of money, and I'm telling you, the better your offer, the easier everything else is. And then finally, let's take you through the permanent makeup. So the permanent makeup artist, good outcome, make more money, right? Risk, it's a good amount of risk, right? It's pretty hard. Time, it can be decently fast, right? Like you can make, let's say you get to $10,000 in 30 days, and it does take a lot of effort. So this one's like 2 out of 4. So we went from 3 out of 4, right? I think Ranjit's was 2 out of 4, and then I think 1 out of 4, and then I think we went to 2 out of 4, okay? So all in all, probably the best one was a 3 out of 4, right? And so you can actually rate it and grade offers, and then based on those offers, you can see what's gonna work better. So you wanna put it through that equation. Now, if you're seeing this and this is complicated, down below in the description, you can click on one of those links. It'll take you through a short slide deck of how we help our clients build out and create offers and build businesses. You can book a free consultation and we'll walk you through that entire process. Now, once you've decided on building your offer, because right, we've gone through mindset, we figured out what skills we had, or we've created skills by going to udemy.com or Allison. So before we actually build the offer, we wanna make sure we sell it. Now, why would I say that? People go, Tanner, why would you want to sell something that you haven't even created yet? Here's why. Because when you create your offer, and this is how I built my company, is you first verify that you can actually sell it. So one of the things I hate more than anything is I'll go on Shark Tank or I'll watch a Shark Tank episode, and they have mortgaged their house, they've taken out loans, they've used credit cards, and they've not sold anything. And now they're screwed because they never actually got proof of concept. What's great about building a business this way is you can sell it, verify that people actually want it, and then when you have that cash, you can use it to continue to grow the business. So the first thing I would do is sell it. And we're gonna talk about how to sell it next in traffic, okay? Once you sell it, then you do one-to-one Zoom calls with that person. And what's great is when they come on the calls, usually what you think people want and what they actually want is different. And so you're walking them through how to get the result, right? And then you can record those calls. Then once you've done these recordings and done a few clients through this one-to-one, then you create a portal around a curriculum that makes the most sense for these clients. And I just say that because when I started off business consulting, there were so many things that were easy for me. And then I started getting clients and I said, oh my gosh, like, you don't know how to set up a pixel. You don't know how to set up a funnel. And like, again, I'm just mentioning things that are easy for me that most people, even some of you are watching this video, you're not gonna understand how to do that, right? And so this is the best way to do it. You get a little bit of, you make some sales, do some Zoom calls, record that, and then that goes in your portal, and or you can build your portal out after that. It's important you do that. The other reason is some people will take 2 to 3 months to build out their portal and they're not making sales. And if you're not making sales, your business dies. A lot of us only have so much time to be successful. Like the longer it takes for you to take action and make money, the more your mind will start to tell you it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. And to give you context, over 2 years, I almost quit 5 times. And then the last 6 years, I've done 115 million sales. I almost went back to school and I never built my business. That means I would have lost out on about $114 million, $0.4 million. But most people don't realize that because when you quit, you don't know what you're missing out on by not taking action. So that's how you wanna sell it. Now, we wanna move to traffic, all right? So now we actually have to make sales. Now, I'm actually gonna bring up a client that I'm working with right now, and they were in about $200,000 to $300,000 of debt, so I'm not gonna mention their names. But in the first 30 days, they've done $57,000 in sales, okay? And they don't have a big following. They have 2,000 followers on IG. So I'm gonna show you how you do this. Now, the first thing is understand what most gurus are gonna tell you to do. Most gurus are gonna tell you to post content and go viral. Now, that sounds nice, okay? But to give you context, I've done over 9 figures in sales. I'm a multimillionaire. I'm financially retired. I have an 8-figure net worth. And I don't go viral very often. In fact, I've had one YouTube video go viral, and it's not even really viral. It's like 30,000 views right now. So it's not even really viral. This is the hardest thing to do. Only 2% of all content creators have over 100,000 followers. It is exceptionally hard to do, right? There's a lot of people who have a big following who make no money, but there's certainly a lot of people who don't have a following who are very rich. Okay? You don't have to have a huge following to be rich, but you could have a big following and be poor, right? So this is not a great strategy because you can spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day putting in tons and tons and tons of time and not getting any benefit. Now, if you're willing to eat shit and not make any money, great, but most people don't want to do that. So that takes us to option number 2. It's either organic, okay? Or option number 3, which is ads or paid, okay? Now, I'm gonna take you through what I would do first. Now, in terms of posting, if you want to post content, you can. I think you should post enough so people know you exist. But really, my first year where I did $1 million in 12 months, I had 9 posts on IG, and I didn't post the whole year. I just had 9 posts, and it looked nice. And I wish I could still show you the Instagram. It was called Tannerchidester Fitness, which I deleted. I don't know why. That was really stupid of me because I didn't know I was going to make this video. But I had 9 posts, and that was it. So people knew I looked real. And then I focused on organic because I didn't have any money. Now, when you do organic, you have 2 ways to do organic. You have cold outreach, or you have inbound, okay? Now, if you have a following, you always wanna start with inbound, or you wanna start with your warm followers. Cold outreach means you're reaching out to people who don't know who you are. So the first thing you wanna do, if we're doing organic, because we'll come back to paid in just a second. If you're doing organic, you wanna first reach out to all your followers, okay? So we call these warm followers, right? People who comment, like, anything on your post. So the first thing we want to do is, let's say hypothetically, we're going to do that strategy. So we're not good at posting content. We don't have money. We have our offer. We need to now tell people about it so they know it exists. I used to think you would post a link in your bio and get rich. That's not how you get rich. It's outreach. It's actually having conversations. The guy who asks out 100 girls has a higher chance of getting yeses than the guy who sits home and hopes girls approach him. It's not going to happen. It's the same thing in business. So first, we're going to start with our followers and engagers, okay? Now, the numbers we're going to look for here is, let's say we send out 20 messages an hour, okay? Without getting a spam block. The reason I say 20 messages an hour, you don't want a spam block, and we want to do 100 a day, all right? Now, we want a 30% response rate, meaning if you send a good message, 30% of the people you outreach to should respond, and then we want to book 5 calls, and we want to close at least 1 sale. And if you're closing, let's say at $2,000 or more, then what that would mean is you would do 5 hours of work, 5 calls, that's another 5 hours, 10, and you make $2,000. So it's $200 an hour. That's a lot more money than you're probably making right now. And if you have a higher price, it's even more. That's how you start. That's the easiest way because these people already know who you are. Now, once you've reached out to all your followers, your engagers, and you're out of people to reach out to, then we want to move to cold outreach. So cold outreach would be you go in Facebook groups or you go on IG hashtags and you're reaching out to anyone who seems like a fit, who's a good avatar. Keep in mind, don't just reach out to anyone. Reach out to someone who looks like a good fit. So let's say I reach out and it's the same thing, 100 a day, 20 an hour. All right, but now because they don't know who you are and they don't follow you, you're gonna get a lower response rate, so only 10%, okay? And out of that 10%, maybe you book 3 calls and then maybe you close 1 if you're lucky, but maybe you need a few more calls, all right? So the goal here is you're gonna get lower responses, which means you're gonna get less calls. Maybe you get a close, maybe you don't, but this is free, right? And then once you get cash, we're gonna move into the next thing. So you hit your warm inbound and then you hit outbound, right? And now let's assume you've made 1 or 2 sales and you have cash. If you don't have cash or you haven't made sales, then it's a skill issue and you have to be willing to learn the skill of messaging, of sales, right? So learn that, right? And so you can either pay a mentor or you can go to Udemy or Allison.com or you get a job that teaches you sales. Like this is where the skills come into play, guys, because without mindset, you're never gonna be good enough to implement the skills. Without skills, you can't create a good offer. Without a good offer, you won't be able to get traffic. It all builds, right? And so to become a millionaire, you need all these skills. So now we want to use that cash and put it into boosted posts. Now the client I told you about that is in $200,000 to $300,000 of debt and they did $57,000 in 30 days. This is all they did. It's actually crazy. So they have a $7,000 offer, okay, for PTs, physical therapists, not personal trainers, physical therapists, cash practices, okay? So it's a $7,000 offer. What they did this last month was incredible, okay? They spent about $2,000 on boosted posts. Now, if you don't know what a boosted post is, all it is where you go on IG and in the bottom right-hand corner, it says boost. And you pick profile views, you choose your audience, the age range, and you start spending money. And they spend about $2,000 in 30 days. Now, out of those $2,000, give or take, they got about 1,600, I believe, how many followers was it? They had about 1,000 followers from that, okay? They were also doing some cold outreach, but 2,000 boosted posts. They had 1,000 followers, about $2 a follower, all right? Out of that, they had 1,600 responses. So some of the people were already following them, right? So remember earlier where we talked about our warm inbound traffic? Some of those people were already following them. They had about 5,000 followers, okay? So they were messaging those individuals. And then they had more people follow them, these 1,000 from the boosted posts, okay? Out of the 1,600 responses, they booked, I believe it was 21 sales calls, okay? And then I believe they closed 6 at about, it was about 6 at about 7,000, actually more like 7, right? So they did a round and they got a few more sales at the end of the month. This right here made them about $49,000 from $2,000 put in. Now, that's the power of paid traffic, because this is the first time you actually move into paid traffic. The reason I'm such a big proponent of paid traffic is I've spent $30 million to make $115 million. Why? Because you need eyeballs. You need people to know you exist. If you don't have a big following and you're not going viral, at some point you have to pay to get that consistent lead flow, because each and every day, if you don't have leads that want to buy your service or product, your business will die. And so coming back to this, it's amazing, like this is untypical results, but because they had such a high price point and they were messaging so many people and they set up so many sales calls, they were able to get a really good ROI. And they had, I think they had about a 30% response rate because these were mostly warm traffic. So out of the 1,600 people, they had about 500 responses, I believe. And then they had about a 5% booking rate, right? So this, it was about 4% booking rate, which is pretty good, right? So you want about 4 to 10%, but they had about a 4% booking rate and they had 500 responses. So they had the numbers were there. And so if they just continue to do this, hypothetically, if they spend 4,000 or 6,000, they could do in a month easily hundreds of thousands of dollars and climb out of the debt. And this is just boosted posts. And this is one of the easiest ways to get traffic. On Instagram, if you do something like this, or Facebook, the numbers you want to look for, just so you guys are aware, is it's 10 to 20 cents per profile view, okay? So when you run a boosted post, it's going to give you a metric for profile views. It's 10 to 20 cents. Then you want to spend $1 to $2 per follower, all right? And then out of that, you want about a 30% response rate, right? So if you spend $1,000, okay, and you have 500 followers, you want about 150 people to respond. And then if we can get a 5% booking rate, so like, let's say 7 calls, and then we can close 3, right? You spend $1,000 and you have a $7,000 offer, that's $21,000, okay? And that will vary, right? Maybe you have a $2,000 offer, so you only make $6,000, but you get the point. And so that's one of the easiest ways to scale. And that's usually what I'll start with my clients. I call it the boosted funnel, because you're constantly pushing people through, and the only annoying part is outreach. Now, for a lot of you guys, you're probably sitting here going, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this outreach. You're in luck, okay? If you guys send me a DM on IG with the word VA, just VA, I'm gonna send you a script on how to hire a cheap virtual assistant for $3, all right? Now, why is this so helpful? Well, let's do the math. If you were sending out 100 messages a day and it takes you 5 hours, and you could get a $3 VA to start those messages, that's only gonna cost you $15. Now, why would that be beneficial? A $3 VA will not be good enough to make someone buy your service, because if you have a full conversation and there's 10 messages, they're not good enough to do the full conversation, but they can start the conversation. That's the key part. And if you send out 100 messages a day and only 30% respond, guess what? You only have to do 30% of the work, and they do the other 100%, right? They're sending out 100 messages and you're only responding, which makes your life a lot easier. So a lot of my clients who are either busy or they have cash and they don't want to do, cold outreach or DMs, guess what? Instead of trying to go viral, which is inconsistent, usually doesn't work, instead of like doing all the messaging yourself, all they have to do is they get a $3 VA. Again, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, tanner.chidester, with the word VA, and I'll send you over the script on like how to find VAs and how to hire them and all that type of stuff completely free. And what they do is they leverage that cash. And so to show you the math, let's say you had a VA working around the clock, or let's say you had 4 VAs and they all did 6 hours each. If you do the math on that, it's 240 messages a day or 7,200 messages a month, okay? And let's say you had, we'll go really low. Let's say you had a 10% response rate. It'll probably be higher, okay? And out of the 720 people who respond, you only book, 5%. So you book 30 calls, okay? And out of those 30 calls, you're not very good at sales, so you only close 30%, so you close 9 deals. I mean, you're gonna make so much money, it's ridiculous. It just starts with outreach, right? And a lot of people, they think the numbers should be better than this, but they're not. They don't have to be that good. You just have to get enough volume. And if you pay a VA 24/7 for 30 days, let's just do the math real quick, okay? So $3 times 24 times 30, that's gonna cost you $21.60 per month. So if you make 9 sales and you have a VA that's sending out messages 24/7, all you have to do is respond and do the sales calls. You could literally build a 7-figure business just from this. Now, some people don't want to do the outreach at all, right? Because it takes more time and it's less efficient. So if you don't want to do the boosted funnel or boosted posts, then what you can do from there is move into regular ads or DM ads. Now, what's the benefit, right? So let's go through this real quick. If you do cold DMs, the benefit is it's free, okay? But what sucks is you gotta do all the work, okay? If you do followers, again, it's free and it's a little less work because they know you, but again, that's the benefit, right? When you go to boosted posts, it's not free, but you have more people coming to you, right? So you can grow your following. So we'll say grow following, right? We'll say plus. And then if you go to DM ads or regular ads, right? So when I say regular ads, when you see a sponsored post on Facebook or Instagram, you've probably seen some of my ads and you click on it and it goes to a message or it goes to a page, that's a direct ad, right? It's a DM ad or a straight to page ad. The benefit here is they come straight to you. So all this outreach that we've talked about here where you have to start the initial message, in this 4th column goes away, which is why a lot of people use that to scale. Because once you get past usually 100,000 a month, which is okay, that's where most people here are starting, is this no longer will work because you get a spam block. Because Instagram and Facebook do not want you just sending messages out all day. You can send 20 to 30 an hour, but even if you send 20 to 30 an hour, there's a limit, right? Because at some point, if you want your business to get bigger, that won't work. So finally, we would go to DM ads. Now, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on this, but here's the numbers you're looking for. If you spend $1,000 and it's a B2C offer, you want $10 leads, okay? So that'd be 100 leads, all right? And then that would be 10 calls, and then hopefully you would close 1, okay? And if you're doing B2B, just double those numbers. So usually with B2B, this would go to $20, all right? You'd have 50 leads, you'd have 5 calls, and then maybe you close 1, or maybe you would need, to do another round and spend a little bit more money, okay? So that is how you get traffic, and those are the 4 ways to do it. Do not waste your time on trying to go viral. Do not waste your time on trying to, post content 24/7, be a content creator. Like, you can make a lot of money and there's nothing wrong with content, but keep in mind, with the content I do now, I have a team of 50. I used to have a team of 100. Like, it's different. All I have to do is show up and shoot and I'm done. If you're starting a business, you don't need to do any content. Just go out and do the outreach. The guy who asks out 100 girls will get more girls than the guy who sits home and tries to just get girls to come to him, or just tries to post content to get girls to, it's not gonna work. It's the same thing in business. You need to go out there and outreach. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before we move on from traffic is then make sure you have an application and then you move to a sales call. So when you're having messages with these individuals, right? So we'll say DMs, you want to send them an application to fill out. And then you want to have a sales call, all right? Now, the key thing in this application is there's a million ways to have an application. In fact, you guys can click in the links below and you'll see there's an application and you can see some of the questions I asked. Here's the biggest questions. You can have a lot of questions, but here's the big ones. The big ones is, can they move forward now? So can you move forward ASAP? Do they need a spouse's permission? Okay. And can they invest money? Those are the key things to ask on an app, because if they can't move forward now, or they need a spouse's permission, or they don't have money, you shouldn't take a sales call. Why? Because that's inefficient. That's an hour of your time. So I'd rather you send 20 messages or do a different task or run ads than take a sales call for an hour with someone who can't buy. That was a massive mistake I made in my business. In fact, I have a client named Katie. She was doing $60,000 a month and she couldn't take any more sales calls. So I said, hey, I want you to cancel 30% of your calls that say XYZ on the app, because she had a different application. And the next month she did 120,000 taking the same amount of calls because she stopped taking the bad look. She would cancel them, right? So when you book these calls, you should look at the applications, and if it's a bad application, follow up with the prospect. Hey, I saw your application, but these answers looked a little iffy. Could you clarify? And if they give you a good answer, great, then you keep the call. If they don't, you cancel it and say, hey, it doesn't look like we're gonna be a fit at this time. In the future, if you have more finances or you're willing to make a decision, let me know. And then you move on to the sales call, all right? And I'm not gonna go through the whole structure of a sales call because it's pretty lengthy, but I'll at least give you the framework, all right? And so when you're doing sales, the easiest thing to do is you have intro and pre-frame. Okay, so when you start the call, make sure you just tell them how the call is gonna go and what they can expect. Then we do discovery. Discovery is asking questions that we need to know to understand their situation so we can help them, right? And if you've never been in sales before, don't overcomplicate this. If you're trying to help someone, ask the questions that you would need to know. If someone had cancer and you didn't know anything about medicine, but you were trying to give them advice, be like, well, have you seen this doctor? Have you done this? Have you looked on this website? Like what's the goal you're wanting? Ask questions that will show that you care. Then you want to summarize. So I always will say back to them what their goal is and what the struggle is, and if we can fix it, they'll work with us. After that, we go into what I call the 3 pillars. The 3 pillars, in short, is the 3 things that you do differently and better than everyone else. And the way you would do it is you would state what the pillar is. And so you might say, let's say you're selling fitness, okay? And so you could say, look, what most people do is this, and what I do is this. So I use a they versus I do frame, or they do versus I do frame for the 3 pillars. You do 1, 2, 3. Once I get through the pillars, then I do a brief overview of the program, 5 minutes or less. I just barely briefly walk them through what they're gonna get. So if you got on sales calls with my team, for example, they would make sure, hey, here's what you're gonna get in the program. After that, we wanna create certainty. So we call it a brief overview, okay? Then we create certainty. And then once we create certainty, meaning they're sure they wanna work with us. If you say, hey, do you wanna work with us? And they go, yeah, it sounds pretty good. Or how does it sound? It sounds pretty good. They're not sure. And we want certainty to be as close to 100% as possible. And then finally, we go to the close, all right? And so if you guys follow this formula, you fix your mindset, you work on your skills, you create an offer, you get traffic, and you get sales, you can become a millionaire in 2025, and it's actually easy if you just do this stuff. If you guys need help implementing this stuff, there's links down below in the description. Check those out. Me and my team will be happy to help you. I'll see you guys in the next video.